I could not see my own hand. One moment I was in Westminster, and the next I was choking on coal smoke so thick it felt solid, as if the night had been packed with wet ash. My eyes burned, my throat clenched. Somewhere ahead of me, a man shouted for help, and the sound came back strangely dull, swallowed by the yellow-black fog. An ambulance engine rattled to my left, trapped in a narrow alley off Whitehall. I found the bonnet by touch. The driver was half out of his seat, scarf over his mouth, trying to peer through a windscreen filmed with soot. In the back, a patient was coughing in short, panicked bursts. The crew had not stopped because they wanted to. London had simply frozen around them. "Easy," I called, though I could barely hear my own voice. "Keep the wheel straight. I'll walk the wall. Move only when I knock." I put one hand on the brickwork and the other on the ambulance frame, inching forward through darkness that smelled of sulphur and chimney dust. A bus bell clanged somewhere nearby, hollow and lonely. Then another. Double-deckers were crawling through Westminster like blind ships, and pedestrians were blundering into curbs, railings, and each other on streets they must have known by heart. The alley narrowed. A handcart had been abandoned crosswise near the mouth. Two porters emerged from the murk like ghosts, coughing, eyes streaming, and together we dragged it aside. I banged twice on the ambulance panel. Forward, stop, forward again. Every movement had to be guided by touch and faith. At last, the front wheels cleared the rubble and the ambulance nosed into the street. The driver gripped my sleeve once in thanks, then vanished into the murk with his patient and crew, searching for a hospital they could scarcely hope to see. That should have been the end of my part in the matter. It was not. I stood in the poisoned dark, listening to Westminster cough. This was the Great Smog of December 1952, one of the deadliest environmental disasters in British history. London, still recovering from war, was burning enormous quantities of cheap, low-grade coal in homes, power stations, factories and offices. Smoke poured from thousands upon thousands of chimneys. Then the weather closed its hand. A bitter cold had settled over the city. The air was windless. A temperature inversion pinned colder air near the ground beneath warmer air above it, trapping pollution over the Thames and central London like a lid on a pot. The fog mixed with soot, sulphur dioxide, and acidic particles until the streets themselves became hazardous to breathe. Traffic had nearly halted. Theatres closed, cars were abandoned. Buses sent conductors ahead on foot with lamps. Hospitals were filling with Londoners who could not catch their breath. And even experienced policemen were getting lost on familiar routes. I had not come by accident. Before arriving, I had been following residual energy signatures whose pattern I recognized all too well. I had first encountered traces like them while investigating the 1945 Trinity affair, and I did not believe in coincidences across time. Near a shuttered corner shop, I paused beside a constable guiding people by torchlight. Soot had settled on his shoulders like black snow. He told me the murk had grown worse with unnatural speed, almost as if the city had been sealed under glass. He meant it as a figure of speech. I did not. So I tested the air. I drew a small sensor from my coat and held it into the gloom. The particulate load was dreadful, exactly as history recorded, but another pattern rode beneath it. The smoke did not drift naturally. In certain pockets, it hung too still. Sound faded too quickly. Even the scrape of my shoe seemed to vanish before it reached the nearest wall. I tossed a pinch of chalk dust into a pool of lamplight and watched it tremble, flatten, and hold. That was when I knew London was not only suffocating, it was being contained.